Jesus Christ into your heart, believing what he did, confessing him as Lord, and then repenting from the things that you've done. That means turning from your old way of life and turning back to him. How do we get ready? Through prayer, through intimacy, through spending time with him, having that relationship, through study of his word. How do we get ready? Growing in faith. We have to let our faith grow. Our faith grows when we begin to grow in the knowledge of who God is. When we begin to believe in him and trust him with our life and the things that we're going through. Share your faith. That is key, and that is so important. We have to share our faith with other people, because the scary thing is, and I'm going to say it again, is that many are not going to be ready. There are many that are waiting for somebody to tell them, and whether they receive it or not is up to you. It's not up to you. Your job is to share your faith with them. And get your priorities in order. Like Vanessa said earlier, if I'm going to work and I need a briefcase, I need to get a briefcase. I'm leaving with a briefcase. Get your priorities in order. Keep a heavenly mentality and mindset. That means that we fix our thoughts and our minds on the realities of heaven, that one day we're going to leave this place and we're going to pass away. Where are we going? I want to go to heaven, so I'm going to keep my thoughts on realities of heaven. I'm not living for this life. I'm living for the next one, and everything that we will do while we're here on earth is going to determine where we go when we pass away. And we have to keep that eternal perspective. Did you want to share anything on that? On how do we get ready? How do we develop, that readiness? How do we get ready, and how do we stay ready?
I see it like as exercising, right? Or I pictured like a boxer, someone who wants to be the world champ. They have to continuously practice. They have to continuously train. And so we have to develop that same discipline in our walks with God. And that, to me, that looks like getting up every day. The first thing I do is I get into my word. I get into praise. I get into worship. And I just spend that time with God. And I do it intentionally. I do it even when I don't feel like doing it, because I want to develop the stamina. I wanted to be able to endure. Trials are going to come in our lives. Jesus is going to come someday, and we don't know when. And I want to be ready. And so I'm doing that to develop my walk and my relationship, because I would hate to get to heaven and be in front of Jesus and him say, "Depart from me, I never knew you."
Right. Me
Scary. That's like the scariest thought.
And, just to really drive this home, one of the ways that God really speaks to me, and also Vanessa, one of the ways that he really speaks to us is through dreams.
Right.
And maybe like a couple weeks ago, I had this dream, and I was getting married the next day, and I'm like standing outside. I think I'm at like a park or something, and I'm getting married the next day, and I know that I'm getting married the next day, and then all of a sudden it hits me, and I realize, oh my gosh, I forgot to buy my wedding dress. And if you are, ever been married, or you're getting married, you know that the dress is, besides the ceremony, the dress is one of the most important parts of the wedding. The bride's dress, what is she wearing? It represents so much. But I had forgot to buy my dress, and it was already too late. I didn't have time to go and get a dress and have it fitted. I didn't have time to do that. And so this guy says, well, I have a dress that you can wear. I was holding on to it for somebody, but you can use it. And so I go to this beautiful Victorian house, and he gives me this dress, and when I see it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I wanted. It would really look like something I would wear in real life, the dresses that I save on my Pinterest, but it looked like something I would really wear, and I was like, great. And it looked great, and so I went and tried it on, and when I tried it on, it fit great. But when I stood in the mirror to look at myself, I noticed the dress was torn in the front, and I was just like, man, you know what? I'm like, thank you very much. I can't wear this. I don't have the time to get it together. I don't have the time to have it fixed. It's too torn. And then my dream went from there and to being in the bridal room, and I was in this bridal room, and it was my wedding day, and I was in another dress, and I was standing in front of another mirror, and in the dream, the dress was exposing way too much, and I was trying to fix it because I didn't want it to expose all this stuff. It was exposing way too much flesh. And then also in the room with me were just two of my friends that are actually friends of mine in real life. One was to doing my hair and makeup, and the other one was my bridesmaid, and both of their names were Veronica. And so I want to break this down to you for a minute, because when I had this dream, I knew immediately it was about the church, and that God was saying that my church is not ready. I'm coming back for a bride that's ready. And so, you know, the wedding dress represents the state of preparation for the union. The wedding dress was a representation of the state of preparation for the union. It also represents the bride of Christ. And forgetting the wedding dress is like the bridesmaids forgetting the oil. They were not prepared for the most important day of their life, and that was the union and that celebration of being with Jesus forever. And you know, one of the most important parts of the wedding is the dress, and I said that. And so they didn't have the oil, and they tried to borrow it. I had to borrow a dress, and when I borrowed the dress, it didn't work out for me. It looked good on the outside. It looked pretty, but when I put it on, it was flawed. And then the first dress fit right. It looked good in the mirror, but it was flawed. And we see in James 1:23, you know, mirrors represent the Word of God. So when I looked into the Word of God, I realized that there was a flaw in my dress. When I compared myself to the Word, there was a flaw in it. And so the torn dress represents faulty preparation. And so I just really knew that God was speaking to me and saying, you know, you represent the church, and this dress represents the preparation, that God is really wanting to drive home how important the preparation is, how important it is for us to be prepared for this day, that we cannot borrow. We cannot go and try to borrow from somebody else. We have to individually be prepared. And when I got into the room, and I was in the bridal room, and I was in another dress, and this dress was very exposed. It was showing too much flesh, and I just felt like God was saying, that's the work of the flesh. That's the work of man. That's you trying to make yourself ready on your own efforts and by yourself. And the interesting thing too was the two friends that were in the room with me, both of their names are Veronica. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. Two Veronicas in my dream. But the name Veronica, ironically, not ironically, it was a God thing. The name Veronica actually means true image in God's reflection. Wow. And so God was, and when you see double, pay attention to when you see things doubled in your dreams, because God, the double means an established witness, a confirmed testimony. God was saying that I'm telling you that I'm establishing this. He says, out of the mouth are 2 or 3 witnesses, let my word be established. And so God was saying, this is my word, and I'm establishing it, and I'm showing you what this dream means. I'm looking for a church that's going to reflect my true image, that's going to be a reflection of me, that's going to be ready, because I'm coming, and nobody knows when I'm coming, but I'm coming. And so I want to tell you, you know, brothers and sisters, that God is coming, and he wants a church that's ready. He's looking for a bride that has made herself ready, that has prepared, and that has done everything that needs to be done in order to be ready on that day when he returns. And part of our readiness and part of our responsibility is that not just that we're receiving salvation and we're making ourselves ready, but that we're going out and we're sharing the message. Yes. We're carrying the torch. We're being the light in the places that we go. And you know, God is looking for a bride that reflects his true image. He's looking for a bride that reflects his true image. So are you ready for the groom? You know, God really wants, he's looking for those who he can entrust with his children. He's looking for people that he can give the responsibility to shepherd his people. And so I want to encourage you, if you don't know Jesus, if you don't have a relationship with him, maybe you've backslidden, maybe you're living in compromise, you know, maybe you've been in and out of church, today is the day to get yourself